Do you guys remember? The news about the turbulent Timeways event for time walking, for 6 long weeks of time walking starting the end of March and ending on the 2nd, the 3rd of May? Many were totally joking, saying, hey, this is totally ending right as the next patch comes out. Mostly in a joking manner because it was right at the start of May, and of course the patch wasn't going to come out this early. However, we have just gotten the announcement from Blizzard, where indeed patch 10.1, also known as Season 2 of Dragonflight, will indeed come out on May the 2nd in NA and May the 3rd in EU. So we definitely live in a bizarro world where for once we are not wondering why a patch is taking so long to come out. We are not being a bit annoyed that we kind of have nothing left to do in the patch, in the season, and it's getting kind of boring to wait for more content. We actually are in the opposite. We are actually in this weird timeline where some players feel like things are coming too quick, are coming too fast with this patch. Another thing that was quite the worry for players with the coming of the next season was Blizzard also has announced the release of Diablo 4 at the start of June. So it kind of looks weird for Blizzard to create competition with its own other title, right? If we go by the idea that Blizzard is releasing one patch every 2 months, because Dragonflight came out at the end of November, and then you have patch 10.0.5 coming out at the end of January, and then you have patch 10.0.7 coming out at the end of March, then 2 months later would be the end of May. So that would be very close, that would be in direct conflict with Diablo 4. It doesn't look like something that Blizzard might have done. So maybe they were going to delay patch 10.1. Maybe it was going to come out in mid-June, perhaps a bit later, to divide the release of Diablo 4 with the release of the patch. Instead, Blizzard went apparently the other way. Instead of delaying this by a couple of weeks or more into late June, they went for the opposite, and instead now we get the release of the patch in early May. So this is quite interesting. It's effectively 1 month from now. Even less, actually, some 29 days from now is when the next patch is going to come out. As we know already, of course, we have gotten all of the features of the patch already announced. We have the new underground zone of the Zaralek Caverns, which will introduce yet another renowned faction inside of the Zaralek Caverns for you to level up. We have the introduction of the Fire Rack Assaults, which is basically, an extra version of the Primal Storm events, the assault events we have gotten before, except now they are going to be fire themed around the fire primal aspect of the dragons. And then the other main news that many players will be happy about, which is going to be the cross-faction guilds. This is another feature which many players thought was going to take much longer to come out. When Blizzard started the experiment of introducing the cross-faction dungeons, many players thought it was going to take much longer. Blizzard was also not quite sure about the timeline, because apparently it was some heavy feats of engineering to make this work in game to have cross-faction guilds. Many players were thinking, oh, it's gonna be late Dragonflight when we get cross-faction guilds at the earliest. Maybe it's gonna be announced for the next expansion. Instead, we actually get cross-faction guilds straight up from patch 10.1. That's perhaps the biggest of the social changes in game. However, why would players be a little bit worried about, right? Why would you be somewhat apprehensive about the fact that this patch is coming out a bit too early? Well, first of all, one thing that you might be a bit apprehensive about is, of course, one of the very recent announcements we have got, which was the announcement of the changes for Mythic Plus, right? We have gotten the announcement for the removal of our 3 currently existing affixes in game. We have Explosive going away, we have Quaking going away as well, and then we have Grievous going away as well. We are getting in return the new additions to the season are going to be Incorporeal, Afflicted, and Entangling. So this is a big change to Mythic Plus. We also have no seasonal affix to Mythic Plus, so no substitution for Thundering, just a base affixes. So quite a few players have been a bit worried about these new affixes. Perhaps it might have required some extensive testing in the PTR to start tuning, right? To start fixing these new affixes. And of course, with the patch coming so early, there won't be that much time for these big changes to go live. The PTR has just gotten these affixes to be testable just a few days ago. So at the very best, you will get about a month worth of time to test these affixes in Mythic Plus before they go fully live in Season 2. So the risk of pushing out these affixes live in a completely awful, terrible state is there, right? It might be a thing for the next season. So that might be a legitimate fear about the release of this new season. The fact that we don't have that much time to be tuning the affixes for Mythic Plus. Somewhat similar, perhaps not nearly as much of a problem, because we have been testing the bosses for a bit earlier back in the PTR, is for the raid. The raid, once again, will be coming out with all of the difficulties, the base difficulties, so not LFR, all of the difficulties at the same time. So once again, normal and heroic will be coming out at the same time as Mythic, like Blizzard already tried in Sepulchre back in Shadowlands, and then continued in Vault of the Incarnates this expansion, and they will do so again in this new raid. That's the other thing that might have players a bit worried about, the balancing, the tuning of the bosses. Also, they won't have the testing for the final boss available on the PTR at all, so nobody will be actually able to test the final boss to begin with. But for all of the other 8 bosses out of 9 that are available in the raid, perhaps there might not have been, nearly enough time to be testing these on the PTR, given that this patch is coming out so early. Besides these type of competitive worries, there isn't really too much to be a bit apprehensive about this early release. Of course, there might be some of the guilds who are just getting to Razaget in Mythic difficulty, or who are about to get to Razaget Mythic difficulty for progression, who perhaps thought we have all the way deep into May, perhaps even early June worth of time to progress on the raid, and now they just discovered they have less than a month. They have about 4 resets worth of time to defeat Razaget in this tier and earn Cutting Edge before moving on to the next tier. That is perhaps the other thing for this season, that releasing the patch earlier than expected might become a problem for some players. The missing out on Cutting Edge for this Vault of the Incarnates raid. Besides that, there isn't really much else to be fearful about when it comes to this early release of this patch. Personally, for myself, I am quite happy about this very early release. We are on track for a very healthy and very often type of release of patches, which I don't dislike at all. I think it's a quite impressive schedule if they can keep it up for this long. This season 1 of this expansion is going to last 5 months. We got the expansion out and the first season coming out in the first week of December, and then Season 2 will come out in the first week of May. So we are talking about 5 months worth of time. This is the same time, the same 5 months gap of BFA, from the release of Uldir to the release of Battle of the Zara Lore, and 2 months shorter than Season 1 into Season 2 of Shadowlands, because from Castle Natria to Sanctum of Domination it was a 7 months wait compared to the 5 months wait we had now. Of course, Shadowlands was obviously even worse because in this expansion we also got patch 10.0.5 and we also got patch 10.0.7. They added a whole bunch of things to the game, whereas in Shadowlands it was a proper, 7 months wait with little else being added into the game. So that's perhaps why this release feels even fresher, even faster than usual, because of the other mini patches, the other, short patches we got along the way of this expansion. So we have gotten this announcement. It was a surprising date as a release, but as I said, I am welcoming this early release for plenty of reasons, both because we are not gonna get a conflict with the release of Diablo 4 and also because simply there is going to be less time to wait before having to dive into new content. As I said, personally for me, the most fearful thing is going to be hoping that the Mythic Plus affixes will be able to be tuned properly in time with this short early release of the next season. So we will see, and we will keep hoping that Blizzard will be able to do a good job in tuning these affixes for the next season of Mythic Plus, and also not have to drag this problem for weeks, if not months, into the season, where these affixes will become some big problem that will make players very dissatisfied with the way Mythic Plus works and will, worsen the experience of many inside Mythic Plus. So let's hope that doesn't happen. So for now, this is all we know, hoping that more tuning will follow for the next season. As we wait, I am going to leave you back to the rest of your day, your early start of this week with this nice news coming right from Blizzard. As a goodbye, I'm going to say thanks, of course, as usual, to all of the Patreon supporters for the contribution and the help to the growth of the channel. As usual, you have plenty of other free ways to show your support. You can like and comment down below on this video, or also, of course, subscribe to the channel itself for completely free. Just like following me over on my Twitter, as well as following me over on my stream on Twitch are also free ways to support. With this out of the way, thank you guys again for watching. See you guys very likely tomorrow. And in the meantime, I wasn't expecting this. I'm almost surprised that this happened, but I am very, very happy about it, thankfully.